Good morning. Thank you for coming. My name is Jamie Dickinson. I'm the Packaging and Labeling Specialist for the Recreational Marijuana Program at the OLCC. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is today we are only talking about packaging and labeling. That's it. Nothing else. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff out there, licensing and all that kinds of stuff. If you have a question about any of the other topics, you should send an email to marijuana@oregon.gov. That's the best way to get a hold of us. Those emails are answered super quick, so anybody that has any questions, that's a good way to do it. There's also a phone number that you can call. The phone number has it's a phone tree, so it has a bunch of different options. It's the 503-872-5000 phone number. You can choose which department to talk to. So for example, if you call and you want to talk to me, I'm 5, so you can dial 5 and talk to me. Additionally, my actual direct line will be on the last slide as well. This PowerPoint is available online. So this entire PowerPoint, you can download it off the OLCC website. It's under the Packaging and Labeling tab. In addition, there is also a Packaging and Labeling Guide, which looks like this. It has a whole bunch of information. I think it's like 30 pages long, yeah. So it has definitions, it has examples of generic labels, it has checklists for all the information that you might want to have on your label or that you're required to have on your label. So there's a lot of information on this that you can also check out. The one question that I get almost every time is about what we're talking about, if it's about licensee to licensee transfers. So the packaging and labeling rules, it only covers the packages that are for direct sale to a consumer. So if you are a grower and you are sending a big bulk bag to a processor, that's not where these rules don't come in. There is a different set of rules that you have to follow, and that's 845-025-7700. So that is the, excuse me, that's the transportation rules. So if you have questions about licensee to licensee transfers in the recreational marijuana program, that's where you should look. This workshop does not replace reading the rules. So I'm really glad you guys are here. If you have questions, I'm really happy to answer any of them, but it is very important that each one of you read the rules and make sure that you understand them. All right, and then before we get started, there's 2 definitions that I have up on the screen here. The first one is licensee. So when I say the word licensee, I mean someone that actually has a license with the Oregon Liquor Control Commission. So this is someone who has applied for and obtained a license. If you are in the process of applying, you are an applicant. So if you actually have an active license yet, you're still an applicant. If you have the license, you're a licensee. Kind of same thing, but on the medical side. So this is a person that has registered with the Oregon Health Authority. So there are 2 separate agencies that do this. So on the medical side, that is the Oregon Health Authority. They regulate the entire medical marijuana program. For the recreational system, that is the OLCC. The only place where these 2 things come together is packaging and labeling. So it's kind of one little unique area. The OLCC, we review and approve all packages and labels for both systems. We're going to start by talking about just packaging. Only packaging, all the packaging rules, all the requirements that you have to follow for packaging. Then we'll have a time where you guys can ask questions if you have anything that wasn't covered in the presentation. Then we'll talk about labeling. So labeling, all the different changes that happened when the Oregon Health Authority adopted their rules in June. And then we'll do questions. And then finally, we're going to talk about the application process to get all of your packages and labels approved. So we have screenshots. I'll show you the new electronic system, and you can ask questions about that. So while we're talking about the first 2 sections, if you have a question about applying, please wait until the very end because we're going to talk a lot about the application process. So the rules. So what we're talking about, this presentation is only talking about these rules. We are talking about the rules that are going to be in effect from now until the end of the year and on. From now until we change them, essentially. So these are what you're going to have to follow from October 1st on. And this is what we will review for. So when I look at applications, I will look under these rules. So this is what we're looking for. If it starts with an 845, that is OLCC. If it starts with a 333, that is the Oregon Health Authority. And as you can see, the pre-approval process is right smack dab in the middle of the packaging rules. All right, packaging. So what are we talking about? What is a package? There's sometimes some confusion about this particular word. When I'm talking about package, I mean the container that's holding the marijuana item. So this isn't the wrapper on the outside or some kind of a structural plastic, thing on the inside that makes sure that your product doesn't, wobble around and get broken on the inside. We're not talking about the structural elements that keep the item in place. We're talking about the actual container that holds the marijuana item. There are several general requirements that all packages have to follow. The first one, packaging cannot be attractive to minors. So what this means is you cannot have any designs, brands, or names that resemble products that are typically marketed towards children. So, for example, we've got the Happy Meal on the right-hand side. If you created a package and it looked like that box, like that Happy Meal box, anything like it, that would be considered attractive to children because that is a product that is marketed towards children. No designs, no brands, no symbols or celebrities that typically market products to minors. So if you use the Golden Arches, for example, obviously there'd be other issues with that, but that's something that every child knows, and you wouldn't want to use that because that would be considered attractive to children. My other example here at the bottom is highlights. So I don't know if you guys remember highlights. When I was a kid, there was the magazine in every doctor's office. If you came up with a clever pun for highlights for your product, that would be considered attractive to children because it is a product that is marketed to children. In addition, there's no cartoons and no images of minors anywhere on the package. So a cartoon is a drawing or depiction of an object, person, or animal, creature, or anything that satisfies certain criteria. So the criteria first is that it cannot use comically exaggerated features. So what we mean by that is a picture of this owl up here. He has comically exaggerated features. He's got large eyes, he's super cute. He's a cartoon. If you had a picture of an owl, like a real owl, an actual owl or a duck or a deer or a bear, that would be okay. Those are not considered cartoons. It is only when you take something and you add or exaggerate the features. Additionally, if you had a dog or any other animal or character that was doing something that a human did, so if he was driving a car or playing soccer or doing anything of those things that humans do, that would be considered a cartoon as well because you're attributing human characteristics to that animal. So those are considered cartoons. And I'm pretty sure everybody is, this probably goes without saying, but no superheroes. No Spider-Man, no Superman, no, any kind of X-Men character, none of that. So nothing that has any unnatural or extra human ability. And just, kind of to point this out, if anybody had a logo or anything on your package and you were curious as to whether or not it was a cartoon, you can email it to marijuana.packaging@oregon.gov and I will let you know whether or not it satisfies the criteria. All right, second requirement, you can't have any false or misleading statements on your package. So, got an example over on the right that, I don't know if everybody remembers Skechers Shape-Ups, but these were the shoes that you could wear and they would make you fit without ever stepping foot inside of a gym. You could wear those shoes and you'd be just like Joe Montana. So that was determined to be false, believe it or not. There are no shoes that will do that for you, fortunately. So we're just looking for things like that. You can't put anything false or misleading on your package. We're going to talk a lot about this when it comes to labeling, but just kind of the general things that I have up here are health claims, the word organic, and the word gluten-free. And like I said, those are going to be covered extensively in labeling. All right, so for packaging, the packaging must protect the marijuana item. So you can't have anything that it can't contaminate or expose the item to any toxic or harmful substance. This is the big one. All marijuana items, except for seeds and plants, they have to be sold in child-resistant packages. So any other product except for a seed or plant, the package that it goes in must be child-resistant. Not only child-resistant, but it has to be tested and certified by a third-party company as child-resistant. So now we require that third-party testing firms test these packages and certify them as meeting the federal standard. So there are two types of child-resistant packages. There are the single-use and there are the continually child-resistant. So single-use ones are, it goes inside of the package, it's sealed, and then the consumer takes it home, they open it up, no longer child-resistant. So it's open now, it's done. The continually child-resistant, they are resealable, and every time you open it, it's, you can close it again and it becomes child-resistant once again. So an example would be like a pop top. So you squeeze the sides, it pops open, you gain access to it, then you can close it again and it's still child-resistant. So those are the two types. The type of package that you use, it's determined by the type of marijuana item that's inside of it. So if you start from the far right, we have child-resistant packaging is not required, so those are the plants and seeds. So you do not have to stuff your plant inside of a child-resistant package. Then in the middle, we have child-resistant when the product leaves the store, single-use. So these are, you can use these single-use bags if it's usable marijuana, so flower, or if it's a single serving of a product. So that would be like an edible. So if you had a single serving of an edible, you could put that in a single-use container and it could leave the store in that way, and you would not have to use an exit bag. So this would be an example. So if you had a single caramel, single chocolate, single hard candy, and you sold it in this, and it was sealed properly, it could leave the store like this, and that's it. So a child-resistant package, the standard is 16 CFR 1700. So that's the standard that the federal government has set. These are standards, you can read them. It's the Consumer Product Safety Commission. This is just kind of a cutout from one of it's just a section of that, those statutes. The standard for the OLCC is that the package must be designed or constructed to be significantly difficult for children under 5 years of age to open and not difficult for adults to use. So this is two parts, and the reason why this comes in is if you do contact a third-party testing firm and you want to get your package tested, they may ask you, do you want to do a child test? Do you want to do a senior test? And your answer to them is both, because you have to make sure that not only children cannot get into it, but you have to make sure that seniors can. When you go to apply, what we're looking for the child resistance is we're looking for a letter from a lab saying that the product was tested and it passed. So this is a fake letter that I made. Obviously the letterhead is from a laboratory, but I added in the rest of the information. We're including our report of your package, and then it describes what the package is. And then at the very bottom it says, and the results are, and it says the result for the child resistance test and the result for the senior use test. And that's what we want to see. We want to see the package that actually got tested and the results. So this comes in when you're applying to show us that the package was properly certified. So if you are going to go out and purchase some product from a manufacturer, before you go ahead and purchase your 10,000 units of their pop-top bottles or whatever, you should call them and ask them whether or not their product has been tested. And if they say yes, get proof from them. You are going to need the proof to apply. So make sure that they provide you with proof before you buy anything. All right, so exit packaging. These help to add child resistance to packages that are not child resistant on their own. Multiple products can be placed in the same exit package at the point of purchase. So if you had a consumer and they wanted to buy 5 different products, you could take all 5 of those products and stick it in the exit bag as long as it fit and closed. And these exit packages can be reused as long as they are resealable and remain child resistant throughout the life of the product. So only the resealable, continually child resistant packages can be reused. All right, more about exit packaging. All exit packages must have one thing on them. They are required to have a statement that says, keep out of the reach of children, in at least 8-point font, Times New Roman, Arial, or Helvetica. If you had a exit package and that was the only thing that was written on the outside of it, with a few exceptions, so if you have directions on how to open your package, that's one thing. But if you have directions and keep out of the reach of children written on your bag and that's it, that would be considered a generic label and you wouldn't have to apply for approval from the OLCC for that label. If you slap a graphic or a logo or any other information on the outside of that bag, you're going to have to get label approval in addition to package approval. So there's package approval to make sure you meet the packaging requirements, labeling approval to make sure you meet the labeling requirements. They each cost $100, so you'd have to get both. And this is for all packages, including exit packages. It doesn't matter who provides the exit bag. The producer, the processor, the dispensary, the retailer, anybody can provide the exit bag. That is a negotiation between those parties.
Including the consumer.
And the consumer. If the consumer had something, then they brought it back in. But the retailer would need to make sure, and this is part of the retailer dispensary responsibility, that package, that exit package was still in good working order and it still was resealable and child resistant. People send me a lot of samples of stuff for me to look at, and people walk through my office and they kind of play with them and open them and close them, and after the 200, 300th time of them getting open and closed, they start to lose their their resistance, I guess you could say. They kind of become warped a little bit, and so you wouldn't want to sell anything that was broken or wasn't child resistant anymore. Packaging that is resealable and continually child resistant may be reused. So for example, a pop top bottle. If you decide to reuse that pop top bottle, you must clean it and you must remove the old label completely and then put a new label on it that is compliant. No contamination or exposing the item to any toxic substances. All right, so what's a label? When I talk about label, I mean anything that's written, printed, or any graphic material that's on top of the package. It can also be, formed or molded onto the package. So there's an example up here, and this company, I know it's pretty hard to see, but they have etched their name into a bottle. That would be considered part of the label. So if you were applying for approval, you would have to submit a picture of that to us because we would need to see it. Any of that written information is part of the label. On the right-hand side, there is a generic label that I created. It's totally fake. I just made up all the stuff. So this is all the information that has to be included on an edible container. So this is all the information that must be on there. And a lot of people ask me whether or not all of the stuff on the top one, does that all have to be on the front? The answer is no. There's only three things required on the front, but you can put more. So just when we get back to it, I'll come back to this as an example, but just so you know, you can have more than one panel. So when I say a label, I mean everything on the package. So for example, if I had this box, if you had something on the front and you had something on the back, those are both one label. You do not have to submit an application for this and then submit an application for this. You include both, and that is one label. If you had something on the side, you'd include that as well. That would be part of the label. And you can put certain information on the front, and then all the rest of the information can go anywhere you want. And we will talk about what the 3 things that you must put on the front are in detail in 1 second. So as a reminder, there's where you find those rules again. It's the 333007 rules. It has to be, everything that's on there must be included on the label. If it's not, we will deny your label application. This is an example of one of the rules. So this is the marijuana plant labeling rule. As you can see, it has these 4 things that must be on there. So really 5. So first you gotta have your business or trade name and number. So your license, your name, the license number or registrant number. If you have someone else that packages or distributes your product, you gotta put their name on it. So if company A is a grower, and then they send it to company B and company B distributes it, you gotta put both names on there, both names. And that's new from the June rules. You gotta put the name of the strain and the universal symbol. So the one thing that's missing off here that every other rule has is net weight. So you do not have to put net weight on plants. It's the only category that doesn't require net weight. Okay, everything on the label has to be 8-point font in either Times New Roman, Arial, or Helvetica. That's it, 3 fonts. You gotta put everything that's required by rule in those 3 fonts. But if you wanna put your logo or your brand or your business information, that can be in any font you want. You can, in addition, I see some people do, they'll have a specific, they'll name their product something and they'll put it in really wonderful scripted font, or they'll do something creative with it. But you still have to put the product identity on there in the right font size and the right either Helvetica, Arial, or Times New Roman. All right, so it's got to be in English, but you can have it in another language if you like. Everything has to be unobstructed and conspicuous, so it all has to be visible on the outside of the package. Yeah. All right, so one last thing. So if a marijuana item falls into more than one category, you have to follow the labeling requirements for both categories. So the example set in the rules is if you had a concentrate that was that you could also eat, you would have to follow both the labeling requirements for the concentrate as well as the edible labeling requirements, with 2 exceptions. You do not have to put "do not eat" on your product, and if the effects are felt immediately, you do not have to put the "be cautious, edibles take more than 2 hours to take effect" warning statement on there. So the 2 exceptions. All right, so a label, this label over here on the right that you can see, you can have more than one panel. So if you want to put it on the front, the side, the back, that's fine. Just remember that the required information has to be an 8-point font in one of the required fonts, but if you have additional information, you can put that in any font or size that you like. The principal display panel, that is the portion of your product when it is displayed in the store, that is what the consumer sees first. So however you want your package to be displayed. So if you want it on the shelf, you pick which side you want the consumer to see, and then it has to have the product identity, the net weight, and the universal symbol. Those 3 things must be on the front. You can add additional information on the front if you want. You could put THC concentration, but you don't have to. You could put everything else on the back if you want. We've been talking a lot about how there's specific requirements in the labeling rules. So every single one of those things outlined in the rules, it has to be on the label. In addition, you have to have the universal symbol, and you have to have an adequate principal display panel. So this is the universal symbol. It's got to be at least 0.48 inches wide by 0.35 inches tall. So that goes on the front of your package. So this is the principal display panel. So in this stick figure drawing here, so this is the side of the package that will be displayed to the consumer. So it's got to have the product identity, the universal symbol, and the net weight. If you notice on this one, it doesn't have any other information on it, and that's fine. Or you could put all of the rest of the requirements on the front. It doesn't matter, you can do it either way, as long as you have those 3 things on the principal display panel. So for the net weight, typically, customarily, it's at the bottom. It's parallel to the bottom of the package, and it is free from any other material or any other information. So you want to make sure that it is visible. People need to see the net weight. In addition, it goes in both US customary as well as SI units. So if you have a dry weight product, then it's going to be in ounces and grams. If you have a liquid, it's going to be in fluid ounces and milliliters. All right, so these are the things that you cannot have. You cannot have any untruthful or misleading statements on your label. This means the word organic, and we kind of talked about organic earlier. You cannot put the word organic on the front of your product. The USDA regulates this, and they are not going to certify marijuana as organic at this time. So a product cannot be 100% organic if it has marijuana in it. However, it can satisfy some other organic properties. So if you had an edible product that used organic flower or organic blueberries, something like that, you can denote that on your package. There are specific ways that you have to use that term. You can call out the products that are organic in the ingredients panel. So you can say organic whole wheat flour, that's fine. You have to make sure that it is organic by a certified or a qualified certifying agent. In addition, so you can't have a label that's attractive to minors, so no pictures of minors, no cartoons, no brand symbols, designs, anything that are marketed towards minors. If your container is too small to fit all of the required information, you just cannot absolutely fit the required information on your container, you can have a smaller container that holds certain information. So there are certain things that have to be on the small container. The small container has to have certain information on it, and then all the rest of the container could be on a leaflet with the small container. Or you can have a small container inside of a bigger container, but the bigger container has to be fully labeled. So small container, so now we're going to talk about just the small container, what only the small container has on it. The principal display panel with the net weight, universal symbol, and product identity, your business name and your number, the batch or process lot number, whatever depends on what your product is. So if you're a grower, it would be the harvest number. If you're a processor, it'd be your process lot number. The concentration of THC and CBD and the required warnings. Required warnings, I mean either for use by OMMP patients only, keep out of reach of children, it is illegal to drive a motor vehicle under the influence of marijuana, or for use by adults 21 and older, keep out of reach of children, those are the 2 warnings that we are talking about. So all of that information has to fit on a small container. Now, I can already tell that there are some people that are going to not be so happy with this and think that this is still impossible. So what I'm asking people to do is, if you cannot fit this information on your small container, send me an email showing me with proof that this cannot fit on there. So I want to see, you could print it out on a printer and try to tape it on there and show me that this doesn't work. But we need to see that this doesn't work, and we'll try to help you. We'll come up with a solution to make this better. If you want to do this small container idea, this is the only information that can be on there. So no company information, no branding information, this is it. This is all that can be on there. So if you have a leaflet, it can have the rest of the information. So for example, if you have this and you glue it to a cardboard, The cardboard can have all of the rest of the information. It doesn't have to have those things relisted on it. It can just have the rest of the information. But if you put this inside of a bigger box or a bigger bag, the entire full label has to be on the outer container. Activation time. So activation time is the amount of time likely for an individual to begin to feel the effects of ingesting or inhaling a marijuana item. You can use words or pictogram. The image on the right is a pictogram that a lot of people use. You don't have to use that one. If you do use a pictogram, please make sure that it's clear what you're talking about. It can't just be a number. Someone sent me something that was just a number, it was just the number 30. I could guess what they were getting at, but if a consumer came in, they might not understand what 30 meant. So if you can find a clever way to use a pictogram, that's fine. It needs to at least be the same size as 8-point font would be. So the medical grade symbol, this is new. It's a symbol that is only used by OLCC licensees. That's it. No dispensaries, no medical program, no nothing. Only rec program. Only OLCC licensees use this symbol. It has to be 0.35 inches in diameter, and it is for products. It is for edibles, topicals, concentrates, extracts, tinctures that have a THC concentration that is above the rec limit, but still below the medical limit. So it's essentially a medical grade product inside of an OLCC licensed retail store. So these products will only be sold to patients or designated primary caregivers, only at OLCC stores. And if you are a licensee or you're applying to be a licensee and you want to do this, you want to produce this medical grade product, you have to follow the requirements set out in 845-025-3300, and as well as the rest of the rules. You have to follow all the rules, but that's the one that talks about the medical grade symbol. So it must be on packaging. If you are a rec licensee and you follow all the rules and you notify the OLCC that you're doing this, and then once you have a product that's going to be sold in a retail store that is above the limit, it has to have, before you sell it, it has to have the medical grade symbol.
Right now?
So there are no retail stores right now.
Okay.
It's before you sell any of these products. So there's no date. It's before you sell this product. It has to have this medical grade symbol. No compliance dates for this one. So we're going to talk about edible labeling because it's got some unique stuff that you have to add. So on the label, you have to have a list of ingredients in descending order, predominance by weight or volume. You have to have the amount in grams of sugar, sodium, carbohydrates, and total fat per serving. When you put the nutrition information on there, you have to have documentation that demonstrates the validity of your calculation. So this is not something that you will submit to the OLCC during the approval process. This is just something that I put up there to remind you that you must have it. If the OLCC or Oregon Health Authority asks you for it, you have to give it. Okay, so you got to put, if your edible is perishable, you got to put that it needs to be refrigerated or frozen, and you have to list the major food allergens. So the allergens are milk, egg, fish, crustacean, shellfish, tree nuts, wheat, peanuts, or soybeans if they're an ingredient, or a protein derived, if the ingredient is a protein that is derived from one of them. There are two ways to label these. If you look at the guide, the packaging and labeling guide that is online, it has examples. So you can see this, how you can label your allergens, but I'll try to explain it a little bit. So you can either, in your list of ingredients, put a parentheses around a potential food allergen. So if you, had ingredients and one of them was whey, because that is a protein derived from milk. After you put whey, you'd put in parentheses milk. You could do it that way, or you could list out all of your ingredients, and then right after the ingredient list, you could put contains, and then you could put, contains, milk, wheat, soy, whatever was in your product. You could do it either one of two ways. It's the same if you look on any, product that you buy now. So if you look at your cereal or cookies or whatever you're buying from the store, they do it in the same way. So that's what we're looking for. All right, so false and misleading statements. So my example over here on the right is Rice Krispies. They had a statement that said, "Now helps support your child's immunity." And it turns out that that's not true. So those are the kind of statements that we're looking for. You can't have anything that's false or misleading. So organic, again, one more time, it's got to be certified by a qualified certifying agent. Even if you do have something that's certified, an ingredient or something, there's only certain ways that you can use that word to make sure you're doing it correctly. If you want to get ingredients or you have ingredients and you have questions about the National Organic Program, you can contact the Oregon Department of Agriculture. They are the agency to contact about that. If you have questions about labeling your product, you can contact me. If you have questions about the program or getting something certified, contact the Department of Agriculture, please. So if you are doing something that is not truthful in the label, so if, for example, if you're hiding, so say you say it's vegan and you put in ingredients on there and then we find out later that you are not telling the truth about that, that is another set of problems that will create. So there is action that can be taken at that point. All right, so we're going to talk about products derived from industrial hemp. So industrial hemp is defined by statute. The statute is up there. It's ORS 571.300. So to figure out if you're using a product derived from industrial hemp, you would use that statute. These products can be sold in OLCC retail stores as long as they are packaged, labeled, and tested according to our rules. They cannot be sold in OHA medical dispensaries at all, none. It's just a difference in the two agencies' rules. There are certain labeling differences if you're going to make a hemp product. For example, an edible does not need to have the be cautious warning that it takes more than 2 hours to take effect. Or you don't have to put it's illegal to drive a motor vehicle under the influence of marijuana as well. So if you have a hemp product, you can also talk to me about that, but there are differences. I know that all of you have thoroughly read the packaging and labeling rules, but if that's what you're looking at, there's also additional rules that you have to follow. So on both sides, so both the OHA and the OLCC have additional rules that you have to follow. One of them is that you cannot sell or transfer an item that is likely to appeal to minors because of its shape, design, or flavor. So this means no gummy bears. You cannot have any product in the shape of an animal, vehicle, person, or character. So you can't have any product that contains DMSO. You cannot buy a commercially available candy or snack food item and spray extract on it. And you can't have any product that looks like a non-cannabis product that's primarily consumed by and marketed to children. Additionally, a processor may not add a substance that increases potency, toxicity, or addictive potential. This means that you cannot add nicotine, caffeine, or chemicals that increase carcinogenity. So I have a feeling that a lot of people produce things that have caffeine in them, like coffee. So here's the difference. If you have a product that has naturally occurring caffeine, you can add a concentrate or extract to that product. So if you have coffee beans, you can add concentrate or extract to those. If you have a product where you are adding caffeine for the sake of adding caffeine just for fun, you cannot have that as a product. So no energy drinks. So if you are selling ice cream or jams or jellies or mayonnaise and some other products, you will need to contact the Oregon Department of Agriculture because there are certain things that you can call those products and certain things you can't call those products. So it just depends on those products are, there has to be certain ingredients in them in order to call it ice cream or in order to call it a jam or jelly. So I would just contact the Oregon, just a general reminder to call the Oregon Department of Agriculture for that. All right, so this is kind of an overview of what we looked at. So one thing that I didn't mention is there is now an FDA warning. In addition, so before this was kind of added in June. So now you have to have a statement on your product if your product is an edible, topical, concentrate, extract, or tincture that says this product is not approved by the FDA to treat, cure, or prevent any disease. So you got to add that statement on there. We talked about the small containers. All exit packages also have to say keep out of the reach of children. We talked about the medical grade symbol, and the concentration limits changed. So both of these tables can be found in the Oregon Health Authority's labeling rules. These are tables that are attached to the rules. So the top one is the recreational THC concentration. The bottom one is the medical. So I would encourage you to look at the rules and take a look at whatever table corresponds with your product. Make sure you're in compliance. In the table, there is no maximum concentration per serving for edibles in the medical side. There is still a maximum single serving limit on the recreational side. All right, so I'm sure all of you are aware by now that the OLCC reviews packages and labels for both the recreational and the medical programs. These are, again, packages that are for sale to a consumer, patient, or designated primary caregiver. So if you have a package that is going from your business to another licensee's business, you do not have to submit that. That is not what we're talking about here. Timelines. So we've already kind of touched these, but August 1st is the day that we will begin accepting packaging and labeling applications. If you are a medical registrant, you have a October 1st compliance date. So that means by October 1st, all of your packages and labels must be submitted and approved by the OLCC. If they're not, you cannot continue to sell. For OLCC licensees, the packages and labels must be approved before any product is sold to a consumer. All right, so as you're preparing to apply, this is kind of just information when you're starting out. I want all of you to know to remember that it has to be a licensee or a registrant that gets approved for packaging and labeling. So a manufacturer of products cannot get approved. It is the licensee or the registrant that gets approval. You will not be approved until you have an active license or registration. So if you're brand new and you're in the middle of applying for your OLCC license, you will not get a packaging or labeling approval until the day your license becomes active. So how many people in here either have a rec license or are currently applying for an OLCC license? All right, so if you have already done so, you are in the system, and this is going to be easy because you use the same login. It's the same system that you use to apply. So you just use your username and your password and you get in, and it's going to just add an extra little tab onto your dashboard. If you are a medical registrant or a brand new applicant for a rec license, you are going to have to select a different button and add a little bit more information. But if you're going to be a rec licensee for the first time, you're going to have to supply a lot of information to the OLCC. It is a very long application, it takes a lot of stuff. If you want to do this, I highly suggest that you take a look at the Business Readiness Guide and the OLCC rules, all 80-some pages of them. That's just kind of the list to the left is just kind of a very brief description of all the information that you'll have to submit. But if you're a medical registrant and you're going to do this, so this is you get on this system, and the only reason that you get on this OLCC system if you're a medical registrant is to apply for packaging and labeling. If you're going to apply for packaging and labeling, you got to provide us your business name, your address, some contact information, and your registration number. All right? So as you're getting ready to apply, this application is going to be online, so you're going to be able to pay with a credit debit card. It's going to be easy. You can also pay with cash or a personal check. If you pay with a check, it's going to take 3 weeks to clear because we make sure it clears your account first. So for packaging, $100 application fee per package. And this is, I'm talking per application, so if you have multiple packages that fit in the same application, still $100. If you want your package to be approved as child resistant, we need to see that documentation showing that it has been tested and certified as child resistant. We want to see clear photographs of all sides of your package. We just want to see how it works, and the reason why we want this is so you don't have to submit a prototype to us. You don't have to send anything in the mail to us if you don't want. If you decide that you really want to submit a prototype to the OLCC, do not send any marijuana items in the mail to the OLCC, please. In addition, if for some reason I can't tell how your package works or what it is through your pictures, I might ask you to submit a prototype as well. That's probably pretty unlikely. So we also want to see photographs and descriptions of the item that's going to be sold in the package. So yes, that would be a picture of flour, or a picture of your cookies, or a picture of your chocolates. Whatever it is, we want to see a picture of it and a description of what it is. We want the dimensions of your package and the color and size variations of your package. So this is for when you're applying. This is what goes on the application. This is part of the application. So for the labeling application, $100 application fee, photographs depicting all label panels, and we want to see that they are the correct scale. So because you don't have to send me a prototype with the label on it, it's going to be really hard for me to tell from some pictures how big your label is and how big your font is. So I'm sure many of you have this already, but if you don't, we have this. So afterwards, you can come up and grab one of these. What this is it's a guide essentially. So it's got white behind it right now, but if you peel it off, it's a transparency. So what you do with it is, if you want to make sure that your universal symbol is the correct size, you stick this around your package, you look at it. If your symbol is smaller than the guide on here, then your symbol is too small. You need to make it bigger. In addition, there is font listed on this. It is in Times New Roman, Arial, and Helvetica, and they are in the warnings that are required for most of the packages. So you can put this up next to the font on your package. If your font is smaller than the font on this guide, your font is too small. So if you can't find a ruler handy, I want to see scale. So stick this next to your label and show me how big this is. All right, so in addition, we want a photograph and a description of the item that corresponds with your label. So this is the same thing. We want to see a picture of your cookie, a picture of your vape cartridge. We want to see what's sold in the container. We want the color and label variations that you want included on the application. So if you have a product and it comes in five flavors, and it's grape and cherry or whatever, and you only submit 3 and those get approved, and you want to add 2 more, it's another application and another fee. So just so you guys know. When you submit an application and pay the fee, we're going to review it to make sure that it has all the things that we've already talked about. That it has, see if whether it's child resistant, make sure it's not marketed in a way that's attractive to minors, it doesn't contain any untruthful or misleading statements, and that it is compliant with the rest of the rules. So that's what we're going to look for. Same thing with the label. I will go through and make sure that they all are 8-point Times New Roman, Helvetica, or Arial fonts, that all of the information is visible on the outside of the package, that there is a proper principal display panel that has the correct information, that the universal symbol is there and it is the correct size, and that it complies with the labeling rules and has every single thing that is outlined in those rules. The application fee, $100 per package, $100 per label, and it's non-refundable. This is important. If you submit something, you have a license application that's going, and for some reason it gets denied and you've already paid for your package and labeling application, you will not get your money back. If you decide halfway through to withdraw your license application and you don't get a license, you will not get your money back. So here's the process. So you will submit your application and you will pay for it, and it will come to me. I will look at it. I will review it. If it is perfect, if everything that you've submitted is great and wonderful, I will send you a letter saying it's approved. If there is something wrong, I will find everything that is wrong with it, and I will give you a list of every single thing that's wrong with your application. So, you're missing your license number, you don't have, lab testing information, anything like that. So I'll tell you everything that's wrong with it. You have 30 days to correct it and send it back to me. At that point in time, you don't have to submit an additional fee. So that your $100 covers that first review and your ability to resubmit. If you resubmit and you correct everything and now it's great, you'll get a letter saying that you got approved, and your package will go on the pre-approved list. If you still did not fix the information that was listed in the first correspondence, it will be denied. And at that point, when it's denied, you're going to have to reapply if you want to get approval. So that means new application, new pictures, new fee. If your package is not approved because it's not child resistant, so say you click, yeah, it's child resistant, and we find out, there's just not the right proper documentation, or you didn't submit something, we'll contact you, and you can do a couple things. You can either fix the package and have it tested and submit that, or you can choose a new package that is child resistant and that has the proper certification, or you can let us know that you're just going to use an exit package. So you can have either choice. So once we begin to approve these packages, the list of approved packages will be published on the OLCC website. Once a package is on the approved list, any licensee or registrant can use it without contacting us. So if you are looking through the pre-approved list and you really like a package on there, you can use it and you don't have to apply for approval. So, in the same kind of vein, if you use a generic label, which is a label that does not contain any pictures, graphic, logo, or additional information not required by rule, that's what you want to use, which is kind of the example off to the right. You do not have to apply for approval with the OLCC. So you don't have to submit generic labels to the OLCC. If you are curious whether or not your generic label is compliant with the rules, send it to me, and I will let you know whether or not you are using an appropriate generic label. And yes, on a generic label, although you cannot have extra stuff, you must have the universal symbol. Okay, so this is what the system looks like. So this is the opening page. When you go here, this is what you're going to see when you click on the link. Yet again, if you've already applied for a recreational license, you don't have to create a new account. You are going to log in right there. So that's the place where you log in. If you are a medical registrant or you want to apply for a license for the first time, you register for a business account. So that's this button over on the right-hand side. So licensees, log in like normal. Anybody else, register for a business account. When you register for a business account, I think when you click this button first, there's going to be this whole, before you get started, lots of information listed, and at the very bottom it's going to say, Do you want to apply for a recreational license, or do you want to apply as a medical registrant for packaging and labeling? You have to click which one is correct and continue on. So if you are a medical registrant and you're just going to register for an account, this is what we ask you. We want your name, we want your contact number, we want an email, and because email is going to be the primary form of communication, it needs to be a good email. So one that you check frequently, because this is how I contact you. And if you're not checking your email and you're not getting it, you're not going to get this correspondence between us, and it's going to take longer. And if if I've contacted you and you have 30 days to respond and you miss it, you miss it. So additionally, when you register, you're going to get an activation link, and you got to click it within 24 hours. So make sure you do that. Additionally, you got to log in at least once every 30 days, or your account's going to become inactive. So that's just kind of a hassle on your part, because you won't be able to access your account. Additionally, you're going to have to come up with a password and some security questions and answers. Please don't forget them. If you do, you're not going to lose access to your account, but it's going to cause a delay in you being able to get access to your information. So if you lose it on Friday night, you're not going to be able to access it until the next week, because we're not going to be here. So please don't forget your password. The license dashboard. So if you're applying for a rec license or you have one, you're very familiar, I'm sure, with this dashboard. Just shows all the different licenses that you've applied for. On the right-hand side, there's going to be a new tab that pops up, and it's going to say packaging and labels. So that's where you click. If you're just a medical registrant or applying for the first time, if you're just a medical registrant, you'll just go to the packaging and labeling screen only. So this screen shows you all of your package and label applications and the current status of those applications. So if you can look up here, there's a section that says packaging, and then below that it says title and description. You're going to fill that information in. So on the dashboard, you're going to see what you put in for title and description, and it's going to help you differentiate between all of the package and label applications that you've submitted. On the far right-hand side, which is incredibly hard to see, it has the status, and the current status of these applications is review and pay. If your application is in review and pay mode, it is not submitted. It is a draft. I can see it, but I will not review it. So you have not submitted your application yet. If you want to add new packaging, there is a button that you will click. It says add packaging. I'm sure that arrow really helps out a lot with that. All right, so on the add packaging tab, kind of on the outside, the underlined words, this is pretty much what it says on the inner box that you can't read. So package title. So there's something that says package title, and we want you to name your application. So this is what goes on your dashboard, so you can tell what application you're talking about. Package types, there's going to be a drop-down menu, and you just describe the category that best describes your package. So are we talking about a box? Are we talking about a jar, a vial, a canister, whatever it is, just choose the one that best fits your package. The package item description, so this is the product that's being sold in the package. Tell us what you are selling inside of your package. Are you selling flour? Are you selling hard candy? Are you selling a concentrate, a vape pen? Whatever it is, tell us what you're selling in your package. The package description, so this is the description that will appear along with the title on the dashboard. Yet again, it's just helpful for me and for you when we're differentiating between packages. Please write something descriptive in the description box. You'll select the material that the package is primarily made of. So is it plastic, is it metal, glass, paper, cardboard, whatever you're using. The type of packaged item, so this is the category from the OHA labeling rules. That's what you put in there. So is it an edible, is it usable marijuana, concentrate, extract, tincture? Just use the drop-down menu to select that item. And then at the bottom, you're going to put your license associated with the package. This is the license that produces or packages the product. In the beginning, we're not going to have very many packages, and we know that. And it's going to be hard to get everybody on there and get everything done. So if, as a way to get this done faster, you can select the license that will go first. So if your packaging you're going to be a producer and a processor and a retail store, and you have a retail store bag that you want to get approved, put it under your producer license if you think that that's the license that's going to get approved first. So you'll know based on how the application is going which one's probably going to get approved first. If If you want to get it on the list sooner, that is a good way to get it on the list sooner. You don't have to do that if you don't want, but it is a good way so we can add as many packages as possible to the list. Below this, there is going to be a question. Is your packaging child resistant? If you select no, you'll just hit continue at the bottom and keep on going. If you hit yes, you add the type of mechanism that's used to open the package. So is it, push and turn? Is it a pop top? Is it slide to open? Those kinds of things. And then over on the right-hand side, you're gonna, from your computer, you're gonna add the documentation from the third-party testing firm. So this is what you get from your manufacturer or from the lab that shows that the product has been certified as child resistant. The system takes PDFs and JPEGs. So on the next screen, when you hit continue, you'll go to size variations. We just want to know what the size of, what the dimensions of your package are. So if it's a bag, you can choose inches, you can do 2 by 4 by 2, however big your bag is. We just want to know how big it is so that the next person that uses it, we can fully describe on the pre-approved list what the package looks like. There's other ways to describe, so if you can't describe it in inches, you can do it in fluid ounces, count if you're using blister packs. There's different dimensions that you can use to describe your package. If you have a package in multiple sizes, this is where you add all of the variations. So before, when I had the 2 different packages that were essentially the same package, but they were different sizes, this is where you add all of the sizes that you want included. If you forget to add all of your packages here and your stuff gets approved, later on, you'll have to apply again.
Okay.
So it'll be another application.
Thank you.
On the next screen, you can add all of your color variations. So if your package comes in black and green and gold and yellow and purple, you can add all of those variations here and we will look at them. If you had 5 colors that were acceptable, but 1 color that was determined to be attractive to minors, 5 would get approved, 1 would get denied. So that's how we're going to look at it. We're going to look at all the different colors and approve them all at once, or if any of them are attractive to minors, we're going to deny 1. So additionally, if you have a package that has multiple colors, you can actually also add all of the colors for that one package. So at the top, that package has multiple colors. You can put all the colors on there. Or you can have different variations of the same package. All right, so next you upload photographs of your package. If you have different variations, please include them so we can see. So the example is on the bottom. So that package, it's the same package, but it comes in different colors. So it's green and red and purple. So that picture shows that it's the same package, it's just different colors. So they're all in the same application. We just want to see photographs of the packages. And please show fronts and backs and sides and everywhere, just so we can see how it works and what it is. Okay, so at the very bottom it says save. So after you add all your pictures, you're going to click save and you're going to go back to the dashboard. So back on the dashboard, you have to remember to select review and pay. So at this point you can look, review all of the information that you've submitted to us and pay your money. All right, so if you want to add a label, you click Add Label at the bottom. Same type of thing, same information. We want you to title your label application, something descriptive, so it differentiates between all the applications. Add a good description. Both of those will appear on the dashboard. The type of product that corresponds with your label, so whatever your label is for, make sure that you add edible, topical, whatever, on that drop-down menu. And then you add your license or registration. So on both of these, for the license number, if you have already applied for a rec license, you're going to hit a drop-down menu and it's going to show all of your applications and you can just select one. Unfortunately, if you're medical, you're just going to have to type your number in there. So we don't have access to the medical registrations. For the label, you can add any color and flavor variations, same way as with the packages. So you just add all the different colors or you add all of the different flavors. Just the same with the packages, we want photographs of the labels. This is really important with the photographs of the labels. I have to be able to read them. And I really, really, really need the scale. So please put the scale, if you can't find a ruler, you just absolutely can't find one, please use this or something like this. You can use the graphic art files, as long as it has the different, this is an inch, this is a milligram, whatever, or millimeter. You can use those. I just need to see some kind of scale. Anywhere where there's label information, you have to include that. So if you just submit the principal display panel, I'm going to contact you back and say, where's the rest of your information? I'm going to send you an email that says you're missing lab information and THC concentration, all this stuff, and that will count as your strike. So please submit all of the information. All right, you hit save at the bottom and you're going to go back to your dashboard. Yet again, please remember review and pay. Very important. When you go to review and pay, after you look at all of your information and you make sure that's all correct, you're going to get a screen that requires you to affirm that everything that you have submitted is true and complete, and that you understand that if it is not true and complete, that the OLCC can deny your application. So you sign and you either pay by cash or check or pay by credit or debit. And then you're done. Then you're submitted. And then the next correspondence you will receive will be from me by email. So the one thing that I found out is that our system is going to be slightly less functional than I'd like in the beginning. So the timeline is going to take a little bit more time to get stuff approved. So we're working on it as fast as we can, and I'm going to get it done before October 1st, but you might see it's going to take a lag. The packages are going to get done before the labels. So we're going to have more functionality on the packages than we will on the labels. But if you have a label that is compliant with the rules and you're really worried because you got to get your stuff ordered, contact me and I will tell you whether or not it is compliant with the rules, which means that it will be approved, but it's not approved. So just so you know, it's not approved. You still have to pay the money and go through the whole application, but I will let you know if it's compliant because you're facing a deadline and you need to buy your packaging and labeling. All right, so last thing, terrible, terrible font, but it's up there. There's the email address and my direct line if you have a call, if you need to call me.
With marijuana dot?
marijuana.packaging@oregon.gov.